Here's the thing. ADHD brings with it some differences that can seem like challenges in our neurotypical world because of how our brain is wired. One of those is our ability to direct our focus and sustain attention. And there is actually a way that is scientifically proven to help improve your ability to direct your focus and sustain attention. And it's probably exactly what you think, but not how you think it. One of the most common things I see when people talk about this method is I can't quiet my mind. And so I want to unpack this because there is a tool that can really, really help you. But because people go about this tool wrong, they think it doesn't work. That tool is mindfulness. And before you shut off the video, I want you to see if you can keep an open mind about what I mean by mindfulness. A lot of times what I see creators and even hear people say is like, "Oh, I can't do that because I can't quiet my thoughts." And that's a myth that you're supposed to quiet your thoughts with mindfulness. I want to just say your brain is designed to think. Like your brain is designed to think. So you can't quiet your brain even if you wanted to. Sure, over time, as you practice, you may learn to let the thoughts go to the background so that you're not hearing them so much and you're able to focus more directly. Certainly, I know you've experienced that in hyper focus where you're just focused on one thing. So it can happen. It's just that a lot of times when people are starting out with mindfulness or other types of meditation, they go in with this expectation that they're supposed to sit there serenely on this cushion with their body still and calm and their mind quiet. And that's bullshit. Like that's not how it works. I will tell you, first of all, when I started practicing mindfulness when I was 25, first of all, I had a math degree and was an actuarial analyst at the time. It felt like I wasn't even a therapist or a coach yet. I didn't know what any of this stuff was. But my therapist at the time had me practicing mindfulness. And you know what? None of it was seated on a cushion. And none of it required my brain to be quiet. And in fact, if you listen to John Kabat-Zinn, the founder of mindfulness based stress reduction, he actually, in his book, Wherever You Go, There You Are, talks about, and other places, I'm sure, talks about how it's actually the process of noticing you're distracted and bringing your attention back that actually builds the part of your brain that pays attention. That if you were able to just sit there serenely and focus, then you wouldn't actually be improving your focus or attention with mindfulness practices. Like the distraction and noticing it and coming back is the point. And you might be like, yep, but I would be distracted the whole time. And that's fine. What I tell people and what I used to do myself is let's say you are doing a mindfulness practice and you have decided to direct your attention somewhere and you are being mindful of something and your attention wanders and you don't realize it's wandered until maybe like you're done with the practice and you're like, oh, wow. Yeah, I just sat there and thought about Schitt's Creek the whole time, or I sat there and thought about my business or my kids. And you're like, yeah, I really wanted to focus on my breath, or I wanted to focus on, I don't know, some important quote to you, right? And that's okay. What you do in that moment, once you've noticed you've been distracted, is you say, oh, yeah, I was distracted. That's going to happen. I'm going to one more time bring my attention back to that thing, that focus of your attention, that quote, that whatever it is, your breath, one last time. And if that observation of being distracted isn't until the next day, then that's when you do it. And you keep backing it up closer and closer to when that is. So eventually you start to string together a moment where you can choose what you want to focus on and be able to sustain your attention there. Now, I want to say there's things that are going to make this harder. Certainly, a lack of sleep is going to make it very, very hard. I have been practicing some form of meditation, starting with movement based mindfulness since I was 25, and I'm now almost 51. And I will tell you that I still can be easily distracted in my what's now a seated meditation practice. In fact, still noticing, bringing it back, bringing it back. And yeah, I have some moments of stillness, but if I'm honest, it's not as often as maybe someone who doesn't have ADHD. And rather than getting upset about it, it's just like, oh, that's just what happens. Bring my attention back. And that's where the benefit is. Not that you should distract yourself on purpose, but think about it. If you, let's say you were going to, you want a nice booty and you're going to do squats and you're going to strengthen your booty and I don't know, make it rounder or something. I don't know, whatever. If you already are as strong as you need to be so that when you do the squats, nothing changes, like you're just like, oh, this is easy. This is an easy weight, right? I mean, that's not a very good example of a squat, but you're like, ooh, this is an easy weight. Well, then you're not actually challenging yourself, right? It's the challenge. It's the doing something that's hard a few times and then resting that allows your muscles to build. And the same is true with the part of your brain that focuses and sustains attention. So that when you choose to practice mindfulness, whatever you choose to focus on, as soon as you get distracted, like plan on it happening a lot, you go, oh, yeah, that's right. I wanted to focus on this other thing. Bring your attention back, focus on that as long as you can. As soon as you get distracted, bring your attention back. I will say that I can focus way better than the average ADHDer in my age group. I mean, I'm also going through perimenopause, so there's some of that. But even with perimenopause and ADHD at the same time, I can focus really well. I can even direct hyper focus. And I don't say that to brag or be like, haha, but rather to say, like, this mindfulness stuff, meditation stuff works. And if you're like, I can't sit still and do that, there's no requirement that you sit still. Half the time when I'm doing mindfulness, I'm swaying, or sometimes I'm like almost violently rocking, you know? And I also started out with running mindfully, which turned into cycling mindfully. So it doesn't have to be that you're still. Eventually, that turned into my yoga practice in my mid 30s. So, in order to build your ability to direct your focus and sustain your attention, all you need to do is decide that you want to and that you're not going to be scared or ruffled by getting distracted because that happens to everyone, ADHD or not. So I want you to give it a try. Maybe after you watch this video, take a moment, let yourself practice. In fact, I'm going to share one of my favorite practices right now for building the ability to pay attention. And actually, I have a favorite, which is trauma center, trauma sensitive yoga, or any yoga practice, really, but especially that because it increases interoception. But the one I'm going to share right now is what I call the present moment check in. And it can be fast. Sometimes I call it the stoplight check in because you could do it at a stoplight. It's not like there's much else you can do at a stoplight. Like you can check your phone, but then you just feel anxious because you notice all the crap you have to do, if you open your email or Facebook and then you forget to do it. So it's just better off if you leave that aside, to mention cell phones and cars, not safe. So at a stoplight, you could even do this. But I'm going to walk you through this practice a little more slowly and teach you how to do it at a stoplight if you want to. So you might take a moment to get comfortable, and you're welcome to have your eyes opened or closed. If you choose to have your eyes open, you might kind of avert your eyes, maybe soften your gaze, maybe gazing down over your nose, maybe off to the side, maybe center, however you choose to do it. And you might start by noticing your breath. And just know if you get distracted, you can bring your attention back at any time. And as you're noticing your breath, you might just notice if there's any sensations in your body that feel less than comfortable. Anything, you might notice pain or discomfort, or like I notice my sleeve is funny, right? So you might notice discomfort. My socks feel weird. And maybe just as you're noticing discomfort, you're just noticing it. There's nothing you have to do. You might see what tells you that it's uncomfortable. Maybe just noticing. And then maybe notice any sensations that feel comfortable or parts of your body that feel comfortable or even neutral, like the tip of your nose or earlobe or pinky finger might feel neutral, or maybe anything that feels comfortable. And when you get distracted, just bring your attention back to anything that feels comfortable or neutral. Maybe noticing what tells you that it feels that way. Is it like the absence of pain or discomfort? Something else? And then maybe notice any feelings coming up for you, any emotions coming up for you. You might notice if there's more than one. You're just welcome to notice. You don't have to do anything with those emotions. You might just notice they're there. And then maybe bringing your attention to your thoughts. So you might notice your thoughts. Maybe seeing, are they moving quickly? Are they still? Somewhere in between? Are your thoughts about the past or the future? Or are they about the present moment? Just notice. When you get distracted, bring your attention back and just notice. You're welcome to blink open your eyes. So that's just a quick mindfulness activity. You're just being present with your experience. That's all it has to be. And the stoplight version of this is you just notice, like, oh, what body sensations am I feeling right now? Oh, okay, notice that. All right. What emotions are coming up? Okay. What are my thoughts like? Interesting. Okay. Takes like 30 seconds. I mean, like a little bit longer than I just did, but you just dip in and notice your present moment experience. Mindfulness is just really about being present. And it doesn't have to be this big, long, seated practice that's scary and doesn't work for ADHD. Because I swear, if I see one more person that's like, I have ADHD and mindfulness doesn't work for me, I'm gonna like lose my shit. And it's only because it's the way people think mindfulness should be practiced, that's getting in the way. You get to practice bringing your attention back to whatever you want to do. Maybe you're watching a movie, you pick up your phone, you're scrolling social media at the same time. Maybe you're like, oh, I'm just going to focus on the movie. It doesn't have to be this big deal. But let me tell you something cool. Every time you notice you're distracted and you bring yourself back, whether that mindfulness practice by choice or whether it's even doing your work, you are strengthening the part of your brain that can pay attention. And that is worth a lot.